You're listening to the We Are Libertarians Network. Learn more at wearelibertarians.com.
Welcome to the Boss Hog of Liberty podcast. This is episode number 196 of East Central Indiana's favorite podcast. Jeremiah Morrell here, joined by co-host Dakota Davis, and some guy named Zach Burcham is running the board and is going to sit at the big table with us today. Dakota, what do we got?
Today's episode features the three of us covering a wide array of topics. We've got so many things to get to, but just a few sentences on each thing, I guess.
Bag.
We're going to be talking about stuff melting in the roads, Indiana constitutional carry, COVID vaccines, someone shot Lady Gaga's dog walker. The NCAA says fans will be allowed at tournament games. The USPS is getting new trucks, and some guy named Gene Haas. Don't know who that is.
I love how you have no idea about the things that really matter, Dakota. He's one of the gazillionaires. This show is about our lives in rural Indiana. We're here to push your boundaries and make you think as individuals. Sometimes we'll provoke you, other times we'll make you laugh, but hopefully you will always learn something new. Oh boy, this is awkward. Which one of you two wants to do the Patreon thank yous? Zach's gotten pretty good at it lately.
I'll let Dakota do it this time.
Because Zach, normally what happens, Dakota, having both of you here is great. This is like a little meeting we can have.
Do you want to split it up?
Normally what happens is I do the introduction, and then Zach is supposed to do the little part where he says, here's what's coming. But then he immediately goes into the Patreon.
I'm trying to learn to slow down.
Yeah, he gets real nervous and goes right into the Patreon thank yous. And then I never get to tell them that we're going to force them to learn something new. And it throws me off for the rest of the show. So however y'all want to work this out.
Get better. You'll get better, Zach. I promise.
I'm optimistic.
I'm trying to learn to slow down.
That's right. Patreon.com/Boss Hog of Liberty. That's where you can go to support the show on a monthly level. We encourage donations at $5 or more a month, but you can really join at any level that you want to. You get access to show notes ahead of time before the show. You also get access to a super secret Facebook group, and that's where we post live streams, and that's where we post the show notes. We have different discussions in that group. It's a lot of fun. We also give you bonus content every week. You get a special 20-minute episode that no one else gets. So you get a lot of perks for joining Patreon. And if you join at $50 or more a month, then we give you a shout out at the front of each and every episode. Chris Lamb is above and beyond the $50 mark. We are very appreciative of Chris. The other folks are Christy Avery from all the way in Fort Wayne, and then Mr. Jonathan Phillips, our favorite car dealer in Central Indiana. Also, Anthony Meyer is a $25 a month member on Patreon, and Anthony is a truck driver. He's delivering goods all across the country, and he's trying to take his trucking business private fully. And he is trying to get some fundraise for that. So he has a GoFundMe set up. We'll post that in the live stream chat. We also have T-Chip stores. That's where you can get your merchandise. tchip.com/BHOL1, 2, 3, 4 or BHOL mug. 1, 2, and 3 are all different types of shirts, T-shirts, long sleeve tees, hoodies, all sorts of different things. And then number 4 is masks. We were just in Nashville this past weekend. You still have to wear a mask places. And then also we have a color changing mug. So it changes colors whenever it gets heated up. And that's pretty cool.
And Andrew Bowman's been awesome and posted the links to most of that in the chat already.
That is very impressive.
Wow, what a good guy.
Very impressive. So are we all dug out? Your yards are clear. You're ready to cut your grass. You got your mower ready, Dakota?
I'm all clear, but I got stuck in the snow. I work inside of substations, and I got stuck in the snow Tuesday. It's like 45 degrees outside, and I'm stuck in the snow. It hadn't been driven on, and I was
wet, real heavy,
really wet, really heavy. Yeah, and I'm driving my really heavy truck through it. It's 10 tons, fully loaded.
So how'd you get out?
Dual tires. It's an F550, and I'm driving, and I don't even like get buried at all. because it's just compressed the snow
And just
so
turns to
much.
ice. Yeah.
It just immediately turned to ice. It wasn't even fleeing snow. It was just solid ice underneath all 4 tires. I put it in 4 high. That didn't work. I went out and locked the hubcaps and put it in 4 low. So I had higher torque. That didn't do anything. It did nothing. It didn't even move side to side. I'm trying to move my tires. I'm trying to put it in reverse. Do everything I could think of.
Does a 4-letter company give you kitty litter or anything to put in the truck?
I had snow melt. I had like 100 pounds of snow melt in the back, and I have a shovel. So I got out and I started trying to shovel snow, and I put the snow melt down. I even put the snow melt. I put piles of it on all my tires so that whenever they rotated, it would try to get underneath. I need all
of the listeners that are listening and watching right now to go ahead and DM former producer Guffey and tell him to stop texting me during the show.
That's
he knows what we're doing.
Incredibly rude.
He was in the chat during
He's just telling me right now about his lights. He put up some lights, and I'm very proud of him. He got some electricity done.
Yeah.
He said he was going to solder it straight into his house, which was a great plan. But he's now texting me pictures of it as you're trying to tell your story, Dakota.
Oh.
So I want the fans, those that are watching the live stream, DM Guffey and say, "Hey, get with it." That's all.
It didn't work. The snow melt didn't work. I'm sure if I gave it more time, it would have worked. But
did you give it like 15 seconds, like instant rice?
No, I gave it about 5 minutes, and it didn't work. And obviously, I couldn't get the shovel underneath the tire where the ice was, so that was useless. And what I finally had to do, I had to get out my tire chains, kind of like drape them over the tire.
You had put your chains on previously, hoping you could use them.
Yeah, obviously you can't put the chains. To put the chains on, you have to drive over top of them and then fasten them together. Obviously, I can't drive over top of them, but I just kind of draped them over it so that whenever the tire rotated, it would, and it worked like a dream.
It was
a whole like 45-minute process. And the thing is I was in the middle of one job. There was a portion came up that I didn't have to be there for about 45 minutes. And I was like, I have this monthly thing that I have to get done. That's like 5 minutes down the road. I'm going to go do that. And then I'll come back and I'll be back as soon as you guys are ready for me. And I go there and it literally takes me 45 minutes to get my truck unstuck.
I had once in college where I backed up into a pile of snow because I'm like, that'd be good. And by Friday, it all melted except for under the right rear tire. And I didn't have a limited slip diff in that truck. So I was completely beached with 3 tires on pavement. And it was along, if anybody goes to Ball State, it's along where like the cow path comes out behind La Follette. So the biggest storm in the campus, everybody's walking by and I am stuck. And the harder you try, the worse it gets because
nobody's volunteering to push you.
Oh no. There. And so because you try harder, it melts the ice a little bit. And then the minute you stop, it just glazes again and just turns it just cups your tire perfectly. Yeah. So you're lucky you had the chains, but you sit there and you're like, I can't do anything because you have custom built ice cups just holding your tires.
Yeah. It was after the day after we got all the snow, I was driving down a county road and there was a Dodge Challenger in front of me. And he was having problems. He was having real issues.
Is he the president of the town council in Spiceland?
Mm-mm. And
because this story would get a lot better if it was.
I know, but it wasn't. It was. I don't know who it was.
So it could have been.
I was in my work vehicle, and no, it wasn't. And he's like trying. He starts to try to turn down a different county road out by Westwood, and he just immediately starts sliding, and then he gets full on stuck just sideways in the road. And the same thing's happening to him where his tires are just spinning.
Rear wheel drive. Aren't those rear wheel drives?
Yeah.
So I got out and I was like, I'll push. If you like just kind of ease into the gas while I push.
With your hands or your truck?
With my hands.
Come on, get the 550.
Hit him with the truck.
And this dude, I'm not even joking. I like put my back against the vehicle, the Challenger, and I start pushing my legs, and like it starts to work, and he's kind of creeping, and then all of a sudden he just guns it, just puts the pedal to the floor, and just
and you're leaning against the back of it backwards,
and it really didn't move him very much because he was so stuck. That was just like the opposite thing of what he should have done. and he just was fishtailing all around the road. And I yelled at this random man. I was like, "Stop,
sir! You can't do that."
And I was like, and he was like, so he stopped and he was like, "What's that?" And I was like, "You just ease on the gas, real slow." So he did, and he finally got unstuck, and he's like, "Thanks, I really appreciate it." He's like, "I just got this car. It's just I didn't think about the wintertime in it."
Well, and one thing that's interesting I've heard about Americans compared to other countries is that we don't invest in winter tires. And like in Europe, it's just a common thing to like
you swap out
wintertime, you swap on winter tires, and I see guys post like they're up in Michigan that have like they work for Dodge and stuff, and they're driving Hellcats in the winter. So they're driving 700 horsepower Challengers, and they said for winter tires on them, they're great. And the guy said a Jeep Trackhawk that has 700 horsepower and all-wheel drive, he's like, it's unstoppable. But Americans just don't want to pay to have a second set of tires. And even though we already all have like storage cribs and garages full of stuff, they're an extra set. But yeah, I helped a lady on Tuesday that was stuck last week after the snow. And I ran my mom to get her vaccine, and she was stuck pulling out of an alley where the plow had dumped the snow, and she just hammered it, and she hammered it with the wheel turned. And I was like, none of this is right. but it was so stuck that I dug out a little bit in front of it, and then I rocked it with pushing it. Like I was doing the movement, and eventually I just rocked it enough. Like I pushed and I let off, and I pushed, and then it bit, and she got going. But I was just like, nobody knows how to rock a car.
No one has it. I was amazed. I'm like, why are you buying a Challenger as your daily driver in Indiana?
First, it was June or July when he bought it.
We were in Nashville, Tennessee last weekend. If you join the Patreon, you'll get a comprehensive review. But something I didn't mention in there is our Airbnb, Dakota and I, we were very romantic cabin. But it was on a side street, and they don't plow their side streets down there. I was driving on the sidewalk to get around the mail carrier in Nashville.
The grooves and the ice on the road were incredible.
Just trying to.
Everyone is following the same path.
Yeah. So when a car comes along, you had to invent your own way, and it was just pure. It was like wagon wheel ruts in 4 inches of ice.
It was pretty crazy.
But the sidewalk was clear, so I got traction from two wheels on the sidewalk. I was good to go.
Yeah, you gotta do what you gotta do sometimes. But yeah, it's my wife's like was talking to him on the phone at like 11 o'clock Saturday night, and I was like, "Who are you talking to?" She's like, "Oh, it's a friend." She's like, "They're stuck." I'm like, "Where are they stuck?" They're in a field. Like, something about their Jeep got stuck. I'm like, "You know what they should learn? The first thing you do is you're gonna go play in the snow in a field. You do it right when it snowed. Don't wait 3 or 4 days. Don't wait for the sun to come out.
Yeah,
because then it gets heavy and wet.
That fresh snow is fun.
You can
the 4-day-old snow is
blast
trash.
through fresh powder. 4 days later, not so much. And they buried like 2 Jeeps in a truck, and we're like waiting for somebody to come out and get them. And it was their own field, so they weren't doing anything wrong. But it's just
that's how I totaled my Jeep. I was in the field, and I got out of the field, and I was like, "Oh, it's time to go home." Had enough fun, and I got back on the county road. And Jeeps are pretty bad on ice, like if you don't have it in 4-wheel drive, because there's zero weight in the back.
There's no weight anything
and
at all.
I obviously out in the field trying to do donuts. I didn't have 4-wheel drive on, and I didn't think to put it into 4. And as I got on the icy road, and I just I literally made it 40 feet and then just immediately started spinning. Like there's nothing that I could even do to control the vehicle. And the only thing that stopped me was a pole.
And if you want more, there's the late Kim Kronk, his episode to go to tell us the story.
Yep.
Oh, shoot. Well, I've discovered that maybe I want to go ahead and get some gutter cables for next year. Some winter gutter cables to try to keep the ice dams down. Everybody had gutters in my neighborhood that were just completely full of ice water.
Yeah.
Solid, pure frozen blocks of ice. And then the icicles coming off the front of the house were massive.
I have the gutter guards, and we didn't have any problems.
Really?
Yeah.
That's big.
I have the old aluminum ones, so there's only like a 1/2-inch gap.
Yeah.
For your gutters.
Yeah, what happened, though, I think, is for a lot of folks, is our downspout extensions froze because they run out into the snow. They fill with water, and it just stacks right up. And then the next thing you know, you just have a gigantic ice cube.
I had some icicles hanging off the house, and I go outside, or I go to the kitchen window and face the backyard, and I catch my son with a chunk of ice about yay big. I'm like, what are you doing with that? He's like, I'm going to knock that icicle down. I'm like, you are not throwing this chunk of ice at the house. And then I get home from somewhere and like the next door neighbor girl's throwing toys in the backyard. I'm like, why are there toys in there in the neighbor's yard? We were throwing them at icicles. So they're trying to knock the icicles off the house and just winging whatever they could get their hands on.
Do you follow Barstool Chicago on the Facebook or Instagram? If you do yourself a favor and pull up their Facebook page real quick, there are some Chicagoans that have been taking ice down because in Chicago they all have these stairways that are made of wood, so they're like wooden staircases. They're fire escapes because they can't use wooden materials for their buildings. They're all brick, but the fire escapes are all wood because they're allowed to.
Seems smart.
You've seen these, Dakota, these 3 or 4 story buildings with staircases off the side. Well, they've got these massive ice dams coming off, and they've started to melt. So they've done the same thing. They start to throw stuff at them and hit them. One guy had it was probably an 8-foot long ice sculpture, and it came down and took out the guy's entire railing.
I'm watching the video right now.
Ripped the railing right off the side of the thing.
It's like 4 feet wide.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. I'll have we'll have Zach put it in the.
He knocked
Facebook
a Volkswagen
chat.
Beetle off the side of his
With a broom.
Yeah,
Did not think it through.
It's 3 or 4 feet wide, and
But the railing was just completely gone, and I don't know from the view I saw,
like balsa wood. And the only thing that would make this worse is if you look down, there's a poor kid or a body at the bottom. He didn't
somebody didn't
clear the way. Yeah, I'll copy a Lincoln.
Yeah, perfect.
Speaking of Chicago, what you need there is a gun to feel safe.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's your God-given right.
Mm-hmm. That
you shouldn't have to have any documents for that, Dakota.
For some reason, we've had to buy back from the government, and people think that it's okay. Jim Lucas, who's been on the show before, and we talked about this bill when he was on the show.
From Seymour.
2 years ago?
This is something he's carried pretty much his entire time in the General Assembly.
Yeah, Jim Lucas is known, depending on who you ask.
2 things.
He's known for 2 things.
Cannabis and guns.
And if you're a Democrat, racism.
Oh, I guess that too.
Jim Lucas has been offering constitutional carry for the state of Indiana and also marijuana. He usually offers up medical marijuana, but he's also in support of full recreational use as well.
All of the above.
Yep, but he always offers up those 2 bills. And it's never gotten anywhere. It always gets assigned to some random committee, immediately dies as soon as it gets to committee, usually doesn't even get heard. And that's the end of that. We'll see you next year. Now, all of a sudden I start
See you next Tuesday, is that what you're trying to say?
Yeah. I start seeing Jim, because I follow him on Facebook. I start seeing him post things like, there's amendments being added to his constitutional carry bill. I'm like, they're actually hearing it. They're discussing it. Oh, the amendment has passed now? So they're actually very seriously considering this? Oh my God, it makes it out of the committee. They're going to hear it on the House floor now. And then all of a sudden it passes the House floor by an overwhelming majority.
65-31. It got out of the House and it's on its way to the Senate. So this bill will eliminate the handgun license that you paid for.
Correct.
In 2022.
Correct.
And they're basically going to make it the burden of the police officer. If you have an interaction, they're going to verify if you're not allowed to have it or not.
Right. This doesn't do what, if you're a felon, you still can't carry a handgun, all that good stuff. So the police, basically the argument is like, anytime that you get stopped by the police, they're looking for that stuff anyway. If you have a firearm, then they're going to know you're not supposed to have the firearm because they've already ran your plates. They have your driver's license. They know already. But the police union's problem with this has always been all of the money from gun licensing goes directly towards training for the police departments.
So it's about a little over $5 million a year that has been paid, that those fees have paid for.
Correct. And the big amendment that was offered in the committee this time was allocating $3.5 million towards extra police funding or police training in the state of Indiana
to offset this.
Right. Because in order to if you have a handgun, if you have a concealed weapons permit in the state of Indiana, then that is also honored by some other states. It carries over into other states. So if you want to carry in those other states, then you'll still have to pay for and get.
You have to have some sort of a document
permit,
so that you have reciprocity with states that recognize Indiana.
Right. So
my lifetime permit is not entirely trash now at this point.
Right.
I didn't waste $130.
So they said, yeah, it provides $5 million in funding, but we're still going to be selling these things. So we'll do some, we'll give you guys a buffer to where we're not totally cutting all of that out. And then hopefully we still sell enough to where we make up for the rest of it. And that was basically like, after that happened, the police union, except for, I think, the sheriff of Marion County, who is also a Democrat representative in the state house, he spoke in the committee and was like, this is horrible. It puts police officers in danger.
It gives them the burden of the responsibility rather than them already being cleared ahead of time by the state police is the contention they have.
And proponents, of which I am one, just say, guess what?
Not my problem. The Constitution says I can have it.
That's kind of your job.
It's not yours to license. AJ Chandler, or Aaron Chandler, I guess officially on the Facebook, says it won't pass. If they pass it, the politicians won't have it to use as bait to get you to vote for them next time, Dakota. You're being trapped. You're being lulled into thinking it's going to happen. It's going to die in the Senate because they want to be able to tempt you for your vote next time.
That could be.
It's kind of true. They have messed around with this a number of times. A couple of years ago, there was a small incremental change. I can remember them being only 4-year licenses, and then they gave you lifetime permits. And then a few years ago, they said, you know what? You can have the lifetime permits, but if you want a free permit, you can have the 4-year one, but you still have to pay for your fingerprints or whatever the heck happens.
Right.
Yep. So some people won't charge you for it anymore. And now, once again, we're messing around with it. We don't just have a law that just stays the hell alone. Speed limit doesn't get dinked around with all the time. We don't play around with the marijuana laws. Those are still illegal. We can't get that passed, but we can change this law every 3 years.
Yep. And it's just, I don't know. I'm hopeful. That it makes it out of the Senate.
Zach, do you carry? Do you have it? No, you carry, but do you have the permit?
Nope.
Do you have permission? You've never been through the deal?
No, never have.
It was a pain in the butt to get my permit the first time because I showed up at the sheriff's department and they said, oh, no. You can't get that here. You live within city limits by 14 feet. You need to go to the police department across town. And then I showed up and they said, okay, yeah, that's cool. But we need a money order. There were so many hoops to go through. It took me a whole damn day.
Like going to the BMV?
Yeah, it was I had to go to the post office, get a money order, had to go back, get my fingerprints done, go to the post office again to mail my stuff out. It was a whole deal. And I had ink all over my hands.
A money order.
I don't remember having to pay with a money order.
Well, you're much younger.
So that was 7 years ago.
My first one was not on a card. It was on. I had to laminate it myself when it showed up.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Mine is.
Yeah, I've got the new version now, the pink card or whatever. That's an actual.
I remember
piece
it being
of
like a
plastic.
piece of paper people like folded.
Yeah.
Even when I was younger, my dad's.
Mine still has my parents' address on it.
Have you updated it with the state?
No.
Oh boy, you can't carry that.
Oh no, my parents' address. Yeah, I've changed my address with the state.
Yeah, but you haven't printed a new card.
No.
Okay, that's like $10. The state would like the VIG. They want your money.
Need to make up for that $1.5 million in difference.
So what the hell do you carry? You're good. Are you looking out for somebody else, Dakota? Or are you having some?
I typically I carry an LCP, which is a very small. It's called a pocket gun, but I don't carry a pocket. I carry appendix.
One more question here before we move on. Is this going to be for concealed carry or any carry?
This is concealed carry, any carry. Yeah. We have right now, this is a concealed weapons permit.
Can you just be standing somewhere with a gun on your hip?
No, I'm not a lawyer. You'll have to
I'm not sure where that threshold is. I remember one time
Guy Relford for that.
Because I was literally in Muncie today and there was a guy with a gun on his hip.
Yeah, I'm not sure where it becomes concealed or open. Because I remember one time leaving the gun range as a kid, and there was like two guys, and this is so like Midwest. two guys like riding a moped, and the guy in the back's got a rifle, and he's like holding it up in the air, like it was like some kind of like like redneck infiltration force. And I was like, I told my dad, I was like, isn't that illegal? He's like, no, you can see it. It's open carry. He's like, he's not concealing it. So that I was
it's not a surprise to
that's
anybody.
the most insane thing I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah, I've never given thought to open carrying, so I've never looked into the laws of it.
All right. We are jumping all over the place today because this is what happens when I make the show notes at 5:50.
Are we talking about?
We're talking about COVID vaccines now.
Yep.
We're back to Indiana news.
It's just a real quick thing, though.
Yeah, this is
they've dropped the age down to 60, right? So if you're 60 years old now,
you can get it. And I made the appointment for my dad myself. So on Tuesday, I want to say, I'm Ron Burgundy. On Tuesday, they made this rule change. I saw it really quickly. I jumped on the website. There was no wait at all. I got my dad on the phone. I said, hey, let's do this for you. They made the change at like 9 a.m. I said, can you go today? I got him an appointment for 2:20 that afternoon in Rushville. He got his Medea vaccine, and he's good to go. And then while he was there, they made his next appointment. Because I was wondering, okay, so you get this one now and you have to get the one in 3 weeks. You have to make sure you match it up correctly. I didn't have any experience with this, but I literally went into the website, chose the place I wanted, and it had a version of, hey, do you want the Pfizer vaccine or do you want the Moderna? You picked which one you wanted. That put you in the line for it. And You're good to go. So super simple.
Yeah, they gave me permission to go get it too.
Who's they?
The state.
Do you have a signed document by the governor?
Someone does. I got an email that said Indiana's signed off on all field employees and the people who work in our control centers that watch over the grid getting the vaccine.
Last week made people realize electricity is pretty important, huh?
I've said for a while, like as soon as I'm able to get it, I'm probably going to go get it, but I haven't even made the appointment because at this point, like I don't want to sound horrible, but really I feel pretty confident in how I'm a pretty healthy person. I take vitamins. I have a very strict exercise and diet. And I just feel like there's probably a lot of other people that need it more than what I do.
I know how strict your diet is, but I also watched you eat a $14 milkshake on Saturday night.
$16
milkshake. I mean, I saw the pictures of the milkshakes. They looked amazing.
I didn't eat all of it. I ate half of it, and I ate half of my cooking. I didn't touch the frosting on the outside, and I felt sick to my stomach for a good while afterwards. So much so, whenever we got to the next bar, and I saw Mason's fish, I was like, I need to eat some of that fish to get like some protein or something going in there, because that was pretty bad. And Mason just took the rest of my milkshake, and he just dumps it into his. Scrapes off all the frosting on the rim, and I was watching him, and it's like my face was turning green.
Sounds like Mason was quite the display to watch.
Oh, he was putting on a show. It was a fantastic time.
Have you guys seen how the state cracked down on the will call? Like, will call wouldn't be the right word, but like the list. They were letting people sign up and say, "Hey, on short notice, if you have some extras at the end of the day, give me a call." And
a lot of teachers were doing that.
Yeah, some teachers like Walmart, apparently, like there's a Walmart pharmacy here too that were even prioritizing teachers in that list. So they were getting a couple of them in a day, and the state found out and said no. And shut them down and said if anybody's found giving any doses that don't meet the criteria, anybody not meeting the criteria, you don't get to give any more doses out. And I was like, really?
That's the purpose of making sure it goes in somebody, right?
Yeah. Well,
although Indiana said the only things that have not gone in somebody's arm have been because they've had broken syringes. They've not had anything spoiled because it didn't go to somebody.
They're saying evidently that the waiting list needs to be also just people that meet the criteria. But what if you don't have anybody?
Right.
Like just having, and the funny thing was it seemed to be because these teachers were getting, I was like, so like the state is really digging in on teachers, like not being able to get vaccinated.
Because the teachers union has made such a big deal about it. So it's all about state government just wants to stick it to
every person that's getting the vaccine is one more to the good.
Yeah.
So Dakota making the case of, well, I feel fine and I take vitamins and I don't have a problem. If you're eligible for it, then damn it, take the thing so one less person in our community can get the virus so that you don't give it to Zach. And that's the point of it, is that if you can take that step, then as soon as you're eligible, if you're willing to take it, then do everybody a favor and go get the damn thing. Let's go.
I just feel like there's a whole lot of 60 plus people who are probably in way worse health than I am that they can have mine for now.
That's fine. That's fine too. But they have to sign up, right? I did watch. I checked in about 3 times. The longest I saw the wait list to be was like 24 minutes. I signed up my dad immediately. I checked back about an hour later, and it was an 8-minute wait for a friend of mine when he was trying to sign up his parents. This was like the magical time of every 30-year-old was the one that was signing their parents up. Either you were sending the link or you were doing it your damn self to make sure, hey, Dad, you're getting yours on this point. My in-laws are getting theirs in March. I don't know why they picked that date, but they're like March, St. Patrick's Day, they're going to get their vaccines. And my mom's still such a young pup. She's not quite old enough to do it yet. Good to be her. But yeah, it was.
Speaking of shots.
Yes.
Someone shot Lady Gaga's dog walker.
Lady Gaga. This is the weirdest story I've ever seen in my life.
And stole her 2 Frenchies.
So, and now she's offering a $500,000 reward for the safe return of her dogs.
I wish I lived in LA.
It would be Dakota the Bounty Hunter.
I would be Dog the Bounty Hunter.
Ace Ventura rides again. This is Ace Ventura 3.
Yeah.
Are the people okay?
The dog walker I heard is okay. Got shot 4 times.
Did they know that these were her dogs?
They had to have known.
Were they marked?
There's no way that you just randomly shoot a dog walker.
Yeah, had to have been watching them. I wonder if there's like going to be a ransom note or something.
TMZ reports that the dog walker had 3 of Gaga's bulldogs out in Hollywood just before 10 o'clock when one gunman, possibly more, came upon them. Didn't know what was said. The dog walker was shot and the gunman took 2 of the 3 dogs named Gustav and Koji. So there's one that's still safe, maybe. It's incredible.
I was thinking about that because I've heard about it, and then I head out for a run. I was like, that's insane. And I'm like, you know what? I'm the kind of person that if anything happens to those dogs and they catch those guys, capital punishment if you hurt the dogs. Like, what is the world coming to that somebody kidnaps your dogs?
So if you have information that can lead to the safe recovery of Koji and Gustav, email kojiandgustav@gmail.com to retrieve the award. Gmail.
LA right now.
It all happens so fast.
LA right now sounds like Mad Max. There's like, we were watching, there's a Netflix series out about the Cecil Hotel, a lady who goes missing at this hotel, and it's a really good series. You guys should watch it. But anyway, they were saying there's
I'm busy with the crew right now. I can't possibly start something else.
They were saying there's like 30 in this documentary that was made a while ago. Obviously, they said there's 30,000 homeless people on the streets of Los Angeles, but since COVID, there's literally 100,000 more now. There's 125,000 homeless people living in LA,
and that's before the government says people can be thrown out of their houses.
Yeah.
There's still rules that say you can't do that.
It sounds insane. So crazy.
I wonder what they categorize as homeless, because then there's a whole bunch of RV people that just live in RVs near the beach, like around Venice.
Yeah, I don't know. This particular show is talking about Skid Row.
Point of inquiry. What beach is near Vegas? What?
Venice.
Okay.
Venice.
I will allow it. Okay.
Yeah, Venice. I listened to a podcast. The guy says, you'll be walking around, you look over, and there's just like a couple. He's like, look like they're living in this beater motorhome, fixing their dinner, parked on the side of the street, and they look like Abercrombie models. He said it's the weirdest thing.
You got to think so. Joe Rogan was talking about one of the things that made him move from LA to Austin was the homeless problem had reached his neighborhood. He went out to get his mail, and then you have to think a multi-millionaire. He's living in a home in LA with woods. Okay, he's one of the people that had to get evacuated during the fires, and there's homeless people camped out in front of his house, and it's legal. They're allowed to camp. They're allowed to set up tents on the sidewalks.
Yeah, it's a bizarre place.
Yeah, crazy. I would be getting out too. I don't even have like a desire to even visit there.
I don't have any desire to visit for a while.
Maybe they'll be coming here for the NCAA tournaments.
Everybody's coming to Indiana for the NCAAs, Dakota. They're going to play it this year. We're at the 1-year anniversary of COVID. This is all we're at the moment, the demarcation point we've been through this lap before. We're finally at the point of the shit we canceled last time is coming back around.
Yep. This time last year, I was watching the news stories about COVID. We're getting ready to go to the hospital to have Jackson. And I'm like, man, hope this thing doesn't get worse. Like, there's 7 cases in Indiana.
Little did you know.
So a year ago, the NCAA tournament got canceled. Billions of dollars in TV revenue were lost to True TV, TBS, TNT, and CBS Sports.
I think all those billions of dollars in productivity that were gained, though, according to whatever that Christmas and whatever firm says from the tournament, though.
Yeah, but everybody worked from home anyway.
Yeah, but then it was lost because everybody was distracted.
Yeah.
So we're going to play the entire tournament in the state of Indiana because Indiana Mayor Hogsett has lifted his curfew. You can be out till 2 a.m. Bars can be back to 75%. Music venues can be at 50%. We have the capacity now. We know how to use masks. We know how to social distance. We've been practicing. So there are going to be a handful of facilities that are going to host the NCAA tournament in Indiana. The smallest capacity that they're going to allow is down there by where AJ Chandler is, down in Bloomington, Indiana. Assembly Hall is going to allow 500 people to watch basketball games. 500. Now, I know for damn sure we will have a lot more than that in Newcastle watching wrestling tournaments right now. 13% capacity at Purdue University at Mackey Arena, and they're going to go 25% in all of the other arenas. So Butler will hold 2,200 people. The Indiana Fieldhouse is going to have
How do you get 13%?
I don't know.
It's such a strange
It's just it's a strange thing that you're going like venue by venue, and it's different percentages.
Well, it's all a matter of the local health department.
I guess, yeah.
Right? So Monroe County controls Bloomington, and then you've got the
We've
university.
given these health departments way too much power. They're just like,
the 500 just about got shut down.
How about 13?
From IU Health. It wasn't even a health department. It was a hospital.
Yeah.
Kind of threw down on that one. Hopefully they fix the potholes in Indy so that people can get to the game safely.
Doubt it.
Because they broke my brother's truck last week.
Yeah, that's why I had to drive to Nashville all by myself.
So here's the question. Pothole Joe really screwed you, Dakota. Who's going to go? Are you guys going to actually try to attend any of this? Are you going to be a part of the festivities?
Me?
The last big event that happened like this in Indianapolis was probably the Super Bowl.
I have a 1-year-old son. I barely made it here.
Right. So are you going to take Jackson down to the NCAAs? Watch some basketball at Butler?
No. Because then he might wind up being a basketball player.
No.
Wouldn't that be terrible?
Don't need that.
I can sit at home watch on my TV, which I don't normally do anyway.
It's going to be interesting. Knightstown Panther or a Blue River Viking. It'd be great.
Basketball is my least favorite sport to watch. It's so boring. So incredibly boring.
Have you tried watching soccer?
I like soccer.
Soccer is way more entertaining than basketball.
On TV, are you drunk? What are you drinking over there?
Water and someone just came in the door.
I warned you.
Oh.
Yep.
I warned you there's a thing happening. Would you like to have a seat over here, sir? You can. All right, we'll grab one.
His mic's not on there.
Mask on, please. We'll have to readjust the camera if Corey's going to join us.
Yeah, you almost had Jeremiah cut out. Oops.
Yeah, Zach tap dance.
It'll be interesting to see when people are able to go
have a seat over here
to go to like bigger events.
You're welcome to
if they actually go to the bigger events, because I know that I see like we were in Tennessee a couple weeks ago and we drove down like through Gatlinburg and there were just people out like normal, and I kind of got like a level of social anxiety at the thought of just lots of people, like because it's such a weird thing.
Welcome to how I've been my entire adult life.
I mean, I was always a little bit like that, but you see some stuff and you're just like, ew. And like I'm still looking forward to the 500. And doing some stuff at that. But yeah, there's some other stuff I'm like...
It was strange being like shoulder to shoulder with people in Nashville.
I bet it was bizarre.
It was strange just even getting in the very first Uber car. And like I've got Mason and Guffey right next to me. And I'm like, this is definitely not 6 feet.
We got in an Uber wearing our masks and the driver had a shower curtain up between us and him.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And Jeremiah has the audacity to go, did Lyft put this up there?
That was interesting to see how people how some Uber and Lyft guys like dealt with like dividing their cars and trying to make it work and to be safe.
Yeah,
Some of them were doing shower curtains or like somehow like rigging up plexiglass in their cars and stuff.
Yeah, we had one of those people too. The first guy that we got in his lift, the lift says no one in the front seat with the driver. And the first guy is like, hey, you, and points to Jeremiah. He's like, just get in the front seat. And he's like, I don't care. He's like, some people do care, some people don't. I don't care. But Uber says, you guys can ride in the front seat. That's up to the driver. So
everybody has their different rules.
And that's why you pay $30 more for Uber.
We're talking about the NCAA tournament is how this got here, Corey. And I just want to know how Henry County didn't get to host any of these games. They're going down to Bloomington, and they're only letting them have 500 people. But here we are, largest and finest field house, and we got the shaft.
So it's my understanding, could be wrong, that the court at the field house is not college regulation length.
I mean, these are unprecedented times.
I was going to say that the field house is actually a very good venue, our field house, for social distancing because there's
absolutely
there's like 42 doors. You could have, you got 20 doors open and have 6 feet between every open door. At 4 corners, you got different, and then there's like I don't know how many staircases. I've had to run them before, and so you get quite a few people in there and not have them have to be too close to each other. They hosted the Harlem Globetrotters when I was a kid.
I know, I was there.
They hosted the Harlem Globetrotters when I was a kid.
Boy, how many times have you guys been kids?
I mean, I was dating at the time. But
all right.
They were probably different Globetrotters.
Dakota is very upset. Dakota, it was probably still the Washington Generals, though. Dakota is very upset. The mail's slow, and now they're getting a new truck, and you don't like it.
Let me pull up this article.
What has you so upset about the new truck?
I don't remember. We have this chat going on where we've been talking. It started out as a meme group with me, you, Stephen Vitito, Cade Koger, and it has turned into our investment gambling.
It happens,
group.
yeah.
And
soon it'll turn to rehab. By the way, next week's show is going to be all about investing.
Like a month ago,
Dakota won't show up though.
Like a month ago, I saw this thing on Wall Street Bets where it was people were saying like, "Hey, there's this company called Workhorse, and Workhorse is one of the top 2 finalists to do the electric vehicle conversion for the United States Postal Service and UPS. So they've got both of these contracts on the line, and their stock is like $10. So it's like they could really be going through the roof right now because no one knows who they are. Now everyone's going to know who they are. And I was like, guys, let's get in on this train. And, we rode it out for a little while. I bought a bunch of shares. And then today, USPS has unveiled new, sleek-looking mail trucks.
Sleek is not the word I would use for this truck, man.
The Oshkosh urban assault vehicle, I think is what it is.
Yep. So the U.S. Post Service, and they've been using the same thing. It's called a Grumman mail truck.
Grumman.
Is it Grumman? Yeah, like the old, like the Air
I have
Force.
no idea.
Yeah, they build airplanes.
Yeah, they've been doing the using the truck since the 1980s, so they were due for an upgrade. But apparently, Oshkosh Defense was selected out of the top 2 contractors to build between 50,000 and 165,000 new trucks in the next 10 years.
This is the most exciting chassis selection.
Oshkosh Bagosh
since Delara beat Delta Wing and the Bat in the Swift. This thing looks like a golf cart with a giant glass bubble on the front, and it's built for packages.
It really looks like a Pope Mobile.
Yeah. If you ever remember the episode of The Simpsons where Homer designs his own car, I mean, it has that. It's got because, I remember when the 300 came out, it was a big deal. They pushed the belt line way up on the 300. So it's got like that gangster look. This pushes the belt line like this thing's pants are around its ankles. It's so low. It's all windshield.
Yeah.
It is all windshield.
Well, it's designed to be operated at 3 miles an hour. So it should be fine.
They also needed it to be really tall so that they could stack packages in it more efficiently.
So they could stand
This is the Amazon van.
Whatever. But Oshkosh is a defense contractor. So it was like probably should have saw that one coming.
Where are they going to build this thing? That's the question.
Who knows?
Which state's going to get the contract?
Saudi Arabia, probably.
They were up 6% today. So we're mixed. We're mixed on this.
I mean, it's one of those things where form is obviously following function. And so, I mean, the current ones aren't that attractive. So, but yeah, you look at it.
I'm really excited for a lot of them to start going up to auction.
I shared an article, and it's by the same group that Jeremiah, if you get the show notes, a site called Jalopnik. And they said there needs to be a spec racing series of old mail trucks. And I was like, yes, there does. They have rubber bumpers on them and stuff. Like how, I mean,
it's the ultimate sleeper vehicle.
Oh, and you could do all kinds of, I mean, cause somebody will buy one and there will be a mid-engine V8 one very soon.
Well, there's going to definitely be an LS swap.
Yeah.
The powertrain has just got to be beat to hell in these things anyway.
Somebody said that they're very cheap and they're very easy to work on, but somebody's like, don't mistake that for reliability. They're not reliable anymore, but they're kind of fairly easily fixable.
Yeah. It was disappointing, but whatever. They still haven't announced the UPS contract, so I didn't sell anything. Yep. My workhorse stock did go down by 11%, but I'd made quite a bit. Just the buildup of the anticipation. So I'm still not in the negative yet.
It's funny,
but I think I'm only up like $1.20.
You said like what 50 to 165,000, and Jeremiah compared to the Delara contract. And I think that
110.
Yeah. I know. I did. Yeah, it was. Yeah, something. It was like a super low number of those. So I was like, yeah, it's a little bit bigger deal. But I know it's been like years that they've been working up to this. A couple of years they've been talking about it's time to replace the mail truck.
This is the first time that what the mail truck has looked like. I can't remember it. The previous version,
the one that is the one they're using now is what I've grown up with. Yeah.
Same, Corey, you're slightly older, but it's the same, right? You can't remember mail trucks. Now, when I was a kid, I lived in such a damn rural area that I think my mail got delivered in a Chevrolet Celebrity.
Mine's delivered currently by a Chevy Blazer.
Yeah. Well, my mail truck guy actually now has a Sprinter van. So he has it's a long wheelbase Sprinter van. So he's got a big nice van. But
occasionally, though, in your neighborhood, they still walk in the summertime.
Well, he parks from a certain house and then walks the streets, and so I can see. I'm like, oh, he's not here yet, but he's coming because I'll see the van up the street.
So this prompts a movie recommendation. Kevin Costner and The Postman.
The Postman, Ford Lincoln Mercury.
Yeah,
I thought you were going to say The Mechanic.
No.
That wasn't a great movie, was it? The Mechanic with Christian Bale.
I don't know that I've seen The Mechanic.
Really?
Nope.
You've not seen that movie?
No.
Have you ever seen how much weight Christian Bale lost for that movie?
Mm-mm.
You should look it up.
Christian Bale's one of those guys that there's a progression of his look for various roles.
He's seriously dedicated.
And he and Matthew McConaughey, but I think there's one where he's like emaciated and the next thing you know,
Mechanic.
Yeah, and the next thing you know, he's Batman and he's ripped.
He put on like 80 pounds for Batman.
And he played. I got lost in the Dick Cheney movie. He was Dick Cheney.
Incredible. Oh, really?
Yeah.
Was he really?
Oh,
I didn't know that.
Wow.
Yeah. I'm telling you, that guy is a shapeshifter. He really is. I think it's called. What the heck is the Dick Cheney? It's not Veep.
I've got
Efforting. Vice. Called Vice, not Veep. Vice. Yeah. Christian Bale plays Dick Cheney in that, and he is. I'll turn this so that.
Oh no! Sorry, it was The Machinist. My bad. The Machinist. Yeah, not The Mechanic.
Okay.
So, great movie though. Stephen Carell played Donald Rumsfeld as well. It's
Steve Carell played Donald Rumsfeld
and did it well.
I may have to go home and watch that.
It's a 2018 movie. Saw it in the theater.
All right.
Well, this is well worth seeing. Amy Adams is in it, which is always worth your time.
There's Christian Bale in The Machinist.
Remember theaters?
Wow.
Although I did hear an interesting thing.
Can you wait a minute? Time out. I need Zach to review your pronunciation of the name of the movie.
The Machinist?
Yeah.
Sounds right to me. Yeah, that can't be good for your health, though.
No, he took years off of his life. Had to have.
I did see an interesting thing that they said where, like, evidently in Indy and like AMC theaters, you can rent an entire theater for $100.
Wow, that would be really cool.
And I think you get to pick the movie. I'm assuming there's a list.
Any movie?
You get to, yeah, well, yeah, I don't know. Yeah. And probably any.
You provide the film?
Because Tom from Bob and Tom did it, and they watched like School of Rock because he took his kids.
That's awesome.
And it's like,
that's one of the greats.
He's like, all you have to do is get like 10 of your buddies, and it's the same price as it would be to go see a movie normally, but it's the whole theater is just you and your friends.
Who's the greatest actor of the 21st century?
Tom Hanks.
Really?
Ooh, I don't know. Because it's kind of hard to. Some people I don't even think.
Wait a minute. 20th or 20th? God damn it. The problem
21st.
is that some of these guys are in both
The
centuries.
21st century, I said.
Well, you're boxing me in.
I think well, now I can't even think of his name.
I can't see. My problem too is if you're trying to separate the last century and this century, the last century was like 5 years ago in my brain. I'm one of those people. It's like 30 years ago. That was 1970. And it's like, oh no, that was 1990. No, not at all.
Crap. Who's the guy that played Abraham Lincoln?
Oh,
Daniel Day-Lewis?
Daniel Day-Lewis. I think he's probably the GOAT of the 21st century.
there's some people
just because of the Abe Lincoln.
There's some people I joke that they don't even act, like Jack Nicholson.
Jack Nicholson is really good too.
He doesn't act though. You just hire Jack Nicholson.
Yeah, you know what you're gonna get. Who's the British guy that's like that? Who was in Peaky Blinders?
Horrible for watching movies.
Crap.
I'm really good at kids
Hardy.
movies.
Tom Hardy is the same way.
You get some people.
You get Tom Hardy. That's who it is.
Corey, this is movie talk, and I know you probably
This wasn't
love
on
it,
the notes.
No.
What's going on
We'll
down the
just
street?
cross out
Anything
the
fun?
cicadas.
Any breaking
That's
news?
just BS.
No breaking
filler
news.
anyway.
Nothing happened?
No, pretty good. Routine council meeting.
All right. They spend any of my money?
I don't think so.
They didn't raise my taxes?
They didn't raise your taxes.
I'll take that.
Yeah.
That's a win.
Yeah.
Did they just
Do that
cancel
again.
the last city council meeting because of the weather?
I believe so.
I never heard what.
Yeah, no, I think they just said they would.
I was prepared to go.
They would
I was like, I'll drive down there. I
have
don't
their
care.
March meeting, basically.
On Monday, Zach was running in the snow in the blizzard as I'm driving home from work to beat the storm, and he's running barefoot down.
I wasn't barefoot. I was in
It looked
shorts.
that way. You look cold.
This week, yesterday, Tuesday, I ran. It was glorious. T-shirt and shorts.
Oh yeah.
We went from I went from almost a blizzard run. That was before the blizzard hit. It was in the lull, and then like a week later, T-shirt and shorts. It's glorious. And this weekend, it'll definitely be T-shirt and shorts.
All right, final two items on the show notes, and we will.
There's one.
We'll
We cross out the
Oh,
cicadas.
you're getting rid of the cicadas. The cicadas. I just wanted to complain about that.
We have to put those
We'll
back
do that
in
right
for
now.
2038.
I have a rude interruption, though.
Okay.
I'm sure you covered your trip in Nashville, right?
Yes, we did.
So I have an observation.
Anything you need.
I have an observation.
Okay.
Dakota texted a lot more.
When he was a little lit up.
So I just wanted to make that observation. We heard from Dakota.
When I was drinking.
Yes. That's it.
He was away from his family,
Because
so he felt like he needed.
Jeremiah was putting videos of me in the
So you're telling us that Dakota's a prime candidate to end up on text from last night?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's
He's
probably
usually just lurking.
I've heard that that's the way he
maybe
is.
not reading. I don't know, but I mean, he was.
I usually read.
He was actually. I mean, he participated.
He's definitely reading because the time you offered
Yes,
up
no
the wine
kidding. Right,
chiller,
yes.
God dang, 20 seconds later, he's at your door buying the thing.
Listen,
So
I've only got so much time to text during the
I
day.
understand. I
And
understand. I get it.
The biggest complaint I have about this Samsung phone is that the keyboard's horrible. I hate it so much. Every time I try to press the space bar, I hit the period.
Nope. Yep,
And
I do that.
It's just awful.
Yeah.
My iPhone that I have for work, I don't like the interface as much as the Android.
I don't know
but
how
the
you switch back
keyboard-
and forth.
The keyboard is just
Constantly.
leagues ahead.
I mean, between the two operating systems, so
it's not that bad.
You're a man
Like-
of talent.
My,
I'm not like doing
I just press
Facebook
the
or
buttons.
anything.
my Samsung has learned like so many different word combinations and stuff. And I could put in just somebody's first name, some race car driver, and their last name shows up spelled right, but it can't figure out that I don't want to put a period between two words. I'm like, figure this
I know.
out, or an N.
It's so stupid.
Yeah.
And like it does. It tries to like make your life easier. Like today I was just texting someone about the town of Greensboro.
Yeah.
And apparently it thought that what I
Greensburg.
really meant was Greens Fork.
Oh, that would really confuse somebody.
Yes, it would. That's in a different county.
It just
That's
completely
just close enough to get them, though.
Yeah.
It's not like it's like
Right.
It's in the-
Greenstown.
It's in the
No,
Newcastle
those are-
Metro.
Those are both
Kinda.
You went too
legitimately
far.
Dakota's problem.
You went too far. You should have turned about
That's good.
30 miles back on 38.
All right. I apologize for the interruption.
Oh, that's what
back
we're-
back to the show notes.
That's what we're here for. I wanted to complain
Let's talk about Haagen-Dazs.
Gene Haas CNCs.
Yeah, this is horrible.
Bajillionaire.
Not horrible, but
He's got a guy who raced his Formula One car. We talked about this. We covered it at the time. I'm going to say his name, and then Zach's going to correct me because he's French. Romain Grosjean.
Something like that, yeah.
Romain Grosjean. We're gonna Americanize the hell out of it.
Yeah, Romain Grosjean.
Yes, Grosjean. He raced for the American Formula One team.
Based
Been
in
there for
Britain.
a few years. But the American team, with a Charlotte presence, Haas branding all over it. The owner is Gene Haas. He's the guy that owns Stewart Haas Racing with Tony Stewart here in America. If you look in most machine shops here in Indiana, Haas is a major machine manufacturer. So the auto industry, Haas is massive. They're not a consumer facing brand, but they're a big deal. This guy has driven for him for years over in Europe, all over the world in Formula One. Had a horrific accident 2 races to go in the season last year.
Yeah. Nightmarish. I'll have to look. I'll find the link. Somebody did a really fascinating. They did the video and then they cut into an animation to show exactly what happened. His car basically speared through guardrail. It was like there's a gap like this big. It got in between the guardrail, turned over hard enough that the back half of the car, because the engine's a stressed member, ripped off and just went off in its own space, and then ripped the fuel bladder open, caught fire. He climbs out. They have a halo, so there's a bar that comes up and over by their head. That keeps the guardrail from taking his head off. And he climbed out through the side of that in a fiery inferno as his car was on fire.
So he's in the car. I'm playing the video for Corey as it's going, and he is in the car as it lights into flames, full fire suit, and he escapes. So it was
really speaks to the safety equipment.
A big testament to the halo that is very new in these cars, where he wasn't decapitated by going through the Armco barrier. It saved him. So he's made the recovery. And he was at this time negotiating to come to America to race the IndyCar series. And it's come to light now that Haas was actually he was going to leave the team, but he was going to carry that Haas sponsorship. So he was still going to be a Haas guy. Gene Haas was going to pay for his car. He makes this recovery. He says, I'm coming to America to do it. And Gene says, I'm not going to sponsor you.
I think even the sponsorship deal was already probably done before he wrecked, because Gene Haas loses more money in his couch than an IndyCar sponsorship would cost for that. The Formula One team, he's probably spending, like, if he's cheaping it, $150 to $200 million a year.
$4 million would have been covered the Indiana or the US budget.
And so they're spending more on catering than they are for that team. But yeah, apparently then when he had this accident, he's like, nope, I'm not going to be responsible for something happening to you over there, and says, I'm not going to sponsor you now.
So he pulled the plug, and he basically said, it's too dangerous. I can't possibly have you get hurt. But yet the guy didn't end his racing team. He's just like, no, not you. Can't do it.
He didn't want his name to be attached to someone got seriously injured.
It was attached to it. The guy, his hands,
he's in the Haas Inferno car.
Yeah. Well, and even the way the car broke apart, where the side pods were on the detached portion of the car. So there's a chunk of car that says Haas on the side next to the fire, and the back half of the car was separated from the fuel cell and everything. So it's pristine. The car looked like it got buzzsawed in the middle. So there's Inferno, Haas in big red letters on the back of the car. It's just strange that this guy's got all these races, and he's involved with Tony Stewart, who had a fatal incident on the track a couple of years ago, not in one of those cars, but he's still like, he'll own a team that goes and runs at Daytona where they obliterate cars.
Sounds like it was just a good excuse to get out.
The money quote here in the Chris Medlin Racer.com story says, I don't know. He has a wife and 3 kids. I just told him I couldn't see giving him money to go out and kill himself. I feel like he needs to stay home and take care of his family. He escaped the big one there. If you really understand what happened there, if that car had a few degrees one way or the other, he wouldn't have been able to get through that hoop, and he would have died. So extremely lucky. So he's like, I'm pulling the money. I'm done. I'm not paying for it. It doesn't keep him from coming here. He's still testing. He tested yesterday in Alabama. He's going to run all of the twisties, all the road course races this year in America. But now the team he was going to race for is trying to figure out the money side. It's just crazy.
He probably could have placed him in another racing series. Put him in taxi cabs in the Cup. You'll have a roof to protect him or a roll cage.
Anyway,
yeah,
I was appalled. I looked at this and I'm just like, the logic was so disconnected. And I know Dakota it doesn't make that much sense to Dakota, but Zach and I know we both looked at it and went, what the? You just keep reading the headline and it doesn't make any sense.
It would make more sense if Haas didn't own the car that he almost died in.
Right.
So it's like, oh, he almost died for you, racing your car, trying to win you a race. And now because he almost died doing it, you're no longer going to financially support him. And I was like, he said he needs to be home. How is he supposed to take care of his family if you just took away his means of making money? He's a race car driver. That's what they do.
That's the.
And
you
you
mount
get a
up
real
again.
job.
You get back in.
All he did was he just said, I'm not going to do ovals. That was the only thing he did after that wreck. He's like, he thought about it for a minute, and then nobody knew he had the IndyCar deal going already. And he's like, he just decided I'm not going to do ovals. So they throw some.
It was rumored.
Video.
There was chatter. There was nothing official, but it was rumored. All right. Last thing I have in the show notes, then we can do a little rapid fire final thoughts. The 17-year cicadas are coming back again, and I finally, I don't know why certain things are in the news so damn much. Cicada.
I know, it kind of hurt my soul. It was like hearing about vaccines.
What? I don't know what word you guys use.
Cicada.
Okay, either way. Tomato, cicada. Every damn year is the year of
Yeah, that's what it feels like. Yeah.
Like it's constant. I finally put my foot down and said, this is bullshit. I don't accept this. They're here constantly. And then there's a different brood every year.
Do you remember like 4 years ago when there was?
It wasn't 17 years ago because you would have been 9.
There was like a 12-year brood that came up.
That's why I can't keep track of
There's all these different types.
Yeah.
There's all these different like subspecies of cicadas that come up. And like 4 years ago, they were saying this one was a really big one.
When are they both going to happen at the same time? And we need to burn down the trees.
Yeah. When do all the broods?
I distinctly remember camping that year and being like, and it was absolutely insane.
I just don't think they're bad around my house. So I just don't really notice because I don't remember it being that big of a deal. But
yeah, in town.
Yeah.
In my house and growing up in Dunreath, there were a lot. It was a pretty substantial amount. I watched one come out of its shell one time, and I thought that was crazy.
Aren't they supposed to be this brood's like they're big?
These are like 3 inches.
Yeah. It just didn't. It seems like maybe it was this 21-year group or whatever, 17. That was the first time I ever heard about it, and then now, it's like every 18 months. It's like, it's like faster than the Olympics. Here comes another brood of cicadas, and they're gonna make us all deaf. I do want to know though, when are the stars going to align and all the broods are going to come out together, and are they going to like take over? They're going to take over the world. They're going to be carrying away small children.
What's going to happen? A big pandemic? I mean, what's the what's the worst?
Apparently, when they're fresh out of the shell is the best time to eat them.
No thanks.
I guess. I work with an older guy, and he says, "Sir, he
remembers the last brood."
I promise. He says that if you can catch them whenever they're breaking out of their shells, and the rest of their skin is still really soft, then it's the best time to eat them, and they taste like almonds.
Put salt and pepper on them.
I've never done it. I think it sounds disgusting. But at least you know.
I mean, good for him. Well, he can. If I have a bunch at my house, he can come and watch him crack out. And
I think he's got like 6 acres of woods. He does it all the time.
So I found a list.
I don't live in an area where I need to eat bugs to live, so I don't need bugs to live.
And there are broods. So Brood X is going to be in Indiana this time. Apparently, in Johnson County, they get multiple broods. This map I have is color shaded by county, by community or whatever. And poor Johnson County has multiples. So if you live in Franklin, this may just happen constantly to you, no matter what.
There's like used to it.
But basically from Columbus, Ohio to the west and the entire state of Indiana, we are the stomping grounds for Brood X. Last year.
When was Brood X? When is that?
17 years ago.
2021.
Yeah. Right. 4 years from now, there's going to be another brood that might get a part of us, maybe potentially. It looks like it's going to be Kentucky and parts of Ohio.
I think we just get some, and then
there's some annual ones. So it's like I feel like we always have this bug that you all don't like the way I say it, but I guess this is going to be bigger than most. I don't know what else to say.
I couldn't even tell you what one looks like.
Really?
No,
seriously.
Yeah. I just don't pay attention.
You've never caught them?
2004 was the last time.
I was in college at the time.
They're kind of freaky.
It's like a gigantic horsefly, but it won't hurt you. Yeah. But it's just
I hate horseflies.
Yeah, kill them all.
They hurt so bad.
And when
it's like getting hit by a paintball.
And by the time you look down and like any bug that bites me, it can make me bleed. I'm like, no, I don't need any of this.
Like bugs, or bees, I'll leave them alone. Wasps, even, it's like,
I was good with bees
bad.
till one of them stung me in my lip running last year.
Ouch.
Like I was running and it stung me and my lip just was swelling up. I'm trying to bite my lip while I run to keep the swelling down. I'm like, what did I do to you?
We have a particular substation that butts up to some woods. It's surrounded by woods. I was there today. And it's every time that I go there, the horseflies are like attracted to the light. I drive a white truck and they just swarm my truck. And I just hate it. I don't even want to get out.
I'm getting questions in the chat or notifications that we've started a war while we've been on the air today. The Biden administration has started dropping bombs on Syria. We've been threatening war with Syria for like 10 years, so I'm not exactly sure what snapped or what happened. I flipped on CNN a little while ago, but we'll read it into the record. Folks are asking what we think. I will note that I still have if you scroll back through my Facebook profile pictures, I'm pretty sure I have the no war with Syria from like 6 years ago. So I might have to cycle that back through, change that to my current profile picture. Not sure bombing anybody's going to help, but with that, we'll end cicada talk and work our way through the room for final thoughts.
See you guys.
Corey, thanks for stopping in. We started a war.
Awesome. Happy to serve. I really appreciate this beautiful beer from Wisconsin.
My wonderful cousin Francis picked that up for us at the Cow Palace. What is the right at the state
Mars Cheese Castle?
Yes, the Cheese Castle.
Yeah,
that is where that's.
So you can watch a great segment on the Mars Cheese Castle on Chuck on Channel 13.
Really?
He went up to Wisconsin. It was winter escape, and so there's a great video segment on the Mars Cheese Castle.
That's where it came from. I stopped in there a couple years ago myself. The last time I brought back some spotted cow, it was from the Cheese Castle as well.
It's beautiful beer, and so I learned about this because my wife is from Wisconsin.
Yes,
and so thank you so much for. And
I'm glad.
And your cousin will now get like a Christmas card or a.
Yep, I'll alert her your address, and you can work it out.
Yes.
So, but yeah, she was the mule. I said, bring back 2 because I know Corey's going to want one.
Beautiful.
So just like last time.
And I'll do about anything for beer. For the record. Well, good beer.
Well, you'll be surprised what my wife paid for that. So when we settle up here in a minute, you'll go, what?
No.
I said,
it's good.
It's a delicacy.
Yes, it is.
So, very good. Thanks for hanging out with us. What's going on in the community? What's your,
Well, so you mentioned the NCAA and Indiana hosting the NCAA, and so our office is
right on that microphone for me though.
We're doing tourism now, and that's fairly new for us. And so I was on a call earlier this week with the state tourism agency, and so I believe there's going to be a competition about the best high school gymnasium. And so the state tourism agency is partnering with the Indiana Basketball Hall of Fame to run this virtual social media competition. And so I think there'll be an opportunity for, the field house fans to vote for the Newcastle Field House and maybe the Rushville Lions to vote for their. I don't exactly know all of the gyms that are going to be on the list.
Their Lions Den.
Yes.
It'd be awesome.
So it's a big deal from a tourism standpoint for Indiana to host that tournament.
Marion has a big one. Seymour has a big one. Yes. There's a lot of historic gyms in Indiana.
And I believe that Newcastle just bought some new bleachers.
Absolutely.
To reestablish their dominance as the world's largest and finest high school gymnasium after there was like some kerfluffle about that. My
colleague in Jackson County, Seymour, we've kind of had a friendly back and forth because when the Seymour gym overtook us, I said, that's fine. Our community's raising money. It's fine. No problem. We're going to do a community improvement, work with the school corporation. And that's what happened.
We're adding luxury suites next.
Absolutely.
It will be the finest.
There's room. They built down, so there's room to go up. Yeah, I saw that. I was like, oh, cool.
It's a beautiful facility and a beautiful story at how
they just didn't want to have to paint over the quote on the wall.
Yeah, I was gonna say, there was at one point they were doing a remodel. It was before I got to the high school, and the cafeterias were out of commission, and so they were eating in the gym, and they put like a tarp over, I think, that said "World's Largest and Finest Cafeteria" for a little while.
Funny. That's pretty good.
But yeah, and then the Hall of Fame's doing a bunch of remodeling and renovations, and they're getting a bunch of stuff done while they're shut down for COVID, and so
it's the anniversary of the Hoosier Gym structure, so it's.
I've never been there.
The Hall of Fame?
Yeah.
I haven't been for a long time. It's cool, and I think it looks like they're putting down, I think they're taking up like an old tile or a rubber floor, and they're putting down an actual basketball floor.
We'll take BHOL on the road one day, and we'll go in there.
And some of our out-of-town listeners like Andrew Bowman and Christy Avery and Craig DaCosta.
I think Chris May from the Hall of Fame would be an excellent guest on your show.
Absolutely. He was on the when I brought Rob Kendall to Henry County, and you helped me out with it.
Yes,
years ago, maybe 3-4 years ago. Chris was on that podcast, but I've not actually he's not on a Boss Hog yet. So that's an excellent point.
I'll do an introduction.
That'll be perfect. We're Facebook friends.
Yeah, okay.
We can get it done. It's just my lack of drive. Really,
that's okay.
It's a failure on my part.
No,
or Dakota's.
I'll help you out.
We have two guests lined up.
I don't want to brag, but in COVID, we've been slow to do this. The next 2 weeks are planned.
That's awesome.
Out of control. That's impressive for us. Spring is sprung, and we feel good.
Yeah, the Hall of Fame it's really nice, and it was way ahead of its time for interactive stuff when it was built. And I remember before it was built, and I remember if anybody follows or is friends with Mark Brim just posted this rant about the Football Hall of Fame is in Richmond.
Yes.
And he said, things I've never heard anybody say. I just came from there. I know somebody that works there or anything. It's just, he said, it's there, but it's
in Newcastle. The Basketball Hall of Fame is a landmark.
And the Basketball Hall of Fame is a thing. I know people that helped work when it was built who worked there. And it's always, and it's also like, it's a gorgeous looking facility. Like one day I was just flying around with the drone, and I was like, I'm just going to fly over the field, fly over that and take pictures. And if you haven't seen it, it looks like a big basketball court and brick out front with the state of Indiana. It's a cool looking facility, and they've taken real good care of it.
We're way better than Richmond.
Richmond's is literally like a
dog food smelling.
It looks like a post office.
It's an old post office. It looks like our post office. It's got there's no lane. I mean, if it didn't say on the front of it what it is, you would have no idea. But if you look at a picture of the Basketball Hall of Fame, you could take off Basketball Hall of Fame and you'd be like, there's something with basketball going on here because there's cues everywhere. So
there's a great story about how Newcastle competed to win the location of the Hall of Fame. It was basically a site selection competition. They were located in downtown Indy. And there were several communities vying for, to be the new home of the Hall of Fame. So make sure when you have Chris on that he tells that story. It's classic Indiana basketball and classic for Newcastle.
David Mitchell's in the chat reminding us that there's some big Tom Carnegie history as well with the Indiana Basketball Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
So absolutely.
All right, we have to get Chris on then.
All right. So one last thing before we let you off the stage here, off the Final Thoughts roster. Do you know that the one rentable cabin at Summit Lake is gone?
Yes.
It's been decommissioned.
Yeah. So
now they did tell me that they're trying to bring some full service cabins in, but as you're now in this tourism world for Henry County,
absolutely.
What about a Sybaris?
We need some cabins, buddy. Yes, I heard Shirley is looking.
Yeah. Yeah. So that'll be a good location in Caddis. Okay, let's talk about the
Greensboro or Greens Fork.
We need that 10370 interchange and throw a Sybaris right there. Perfect.
So that idea was a project identified in the Stellar plan. Yep. It was identified in the county comprehensive plan, and we're going to pursue that strategy because Summit Lake is the number one driver for day trips to Henry County.
Yep. And now many of the state parks in Indiana have inns, right?
Yes.
And I don't know if they would do an inn there, but at least some cabins.
Absolutely. And I think there's an opportunity to collaborate with the DNR, with the property manager out there, Nikki LaCrone. She's doing a phenomenal job, and the county and the private sector. So a true state, local, private opportunity. So stay tuned.
Very good. All right. Anything else you want to plug? Is the surveys? Or the survey over?
Survey's over.
All right. You can't say if you didn't say it already.
We had over 400 responses.
Fantastic.
So we're going to take that information and kind of bake that into the cake as we as we determine a brand for Henry County. And the reason why the survey was so important is we wanted it to be authentic. We're not going to be able to please everybody, but we wanted it to be based on community input.
Very good. Zachy B.
I don't know. I don't have much. L&K for your beef. I know that they're doing some deals, but yeah, I'm excited to see what they do at Summit Lake because I'm a frequent visitor. I go out there about once a week. I think I've been out there like 6 or 8 times this year.
You're hiking like every week.
I try to get a hike in a week.
You've got a challenge you're doing.
This is the problem. Yeah, I am really bad about picking up really odd things from people on social media. So one of the things I get made fun of a lot is I run in shorts all year round. Doesn't matter. 12 degrees below zero. I've done it. I picked that up off of Thomas Schechter, the IndyCar driver. He was living in Indiana at the point. He posted a picture on Twitter or something like that, running in the snow in shorts. I'm like, you did that? He's like, yeah, it's not that bad. So I started doing it. Now all my friends run shorts. And then I follow a PR person for an IndyCar team, and they go on a hike every week. They do 52 hikes a year. And so sometimes they might miss a week, but they'll do a couple in a week to make up for it. I'm like, I need to do that just to get out and gets me to do something. So most of them have been at Summit Lake because I'm kind of short on time and I still run the weekends. So I've been out to Summit Lake, like I said, about every weekend. I did Mounds 2 weeks ago in the snow.
Mounds is a nice park too.
I hadn't been out there in like years, but so I went out to Mounds and hiked in the snow 2 weeks ago and Summit last week. So been out there. So yeah, Summit's great and it's hard to get into. They could add 100 sites to their campground, and if they were well placed, they'd still be selling out every weekend. It's a really hard park. It's a hard park to get a camper into in terms of reserving a space.
From people that are in the camping community now, as we are, Summit Lake is basically the Indianapolis campground. So if you're from Central Indiana, it is the premier campground to come into for state parks. They could easily add another 100, 120 sites and still be full.
And they could throw an inn. They've got a good. He mentions an inn, like an inn would be awesome there. And I could even think where they probably could stick it and have it on the lake and have a nice view.
There's even a bed and breakfast over there.
Is there?
Yeah,
over by there. But yeah, it's so yeah, I'm just enjoying being outdoors, and I love the snow, but I'm enjoying it melting, so I can run and not worry about falling and breaking my neck.
Dakota Davis.
I have nothing.
But he took all his energy in those texts over the weekend.
He spent it. He's got to take next week off. He'll be back in 2 weeks.
Full of disappointment. I'm still holding my GameStop stock, and it's just
it rallied yesterday, like $140.
Keep holding, buddy. Keep holding.
I listened to a podcast.
My workhorse is down. Dogecoin is down. Everything's down, and I blame Joe Biden.
No, gas prices aren't down, buddy.
Oh man, I was listening.
I sold my oil stock.
Speaking of,
I sold it.
I hear
in order to get into GameStop.
I hear corn and soybean commodity prices are doing quite well.
My Baytex Energy stock has tripled since the fall.
I sold Suncor.
I listened to a podcast. It was so funny because it was actually from so these guys didn't. It's called The Dollop, and it's a historical podcast with a comedic twist. It's kind of like Time Suck, but a different feel. There's one guy reading to another guy, and they were talking about this guy. I think his name was like Robert Morse, and he basically cornered the market first on ice when they would ship ice, like in the late 1800s, early 1900s, down from Maine to New York City, so people could have ice in the summer. They had ways of storing it and stuff, and then eventually he was buying banks to fund then efforts to buy. He owned the entire shipping company. And if you wanted to ship anything between New York City and New Orleans, anywhere you had to go through him. He basically owned the entire shipping network at this point. And they talked about in it that he bought all this stock he was trying to do short sales on stock, and people found out and they ran the stock up on this guy. And it was 100 years ago.
Nice.
And they are describing without Reddit the GameStop game.
Awesome.
And then they ran a stock up to $60 in 1918. And I was like, this is hilarious.
Amazing.
This nothing.
History repeats itself.
Yeah, nothing is new. You think, nobody's ever thought of this before. It's like, no, they find a way to do it and they said, oh yeah, because I own so much of the stock that nobody will be able to buy any stock. So we'll just keep running it up. And then all of a sudden this huge block of stock gets dropped, and it's the Standard Oil guys. and he had messed him over in a deal. And so they had quietly acquired all the stock and then just messed him over. I was like, it was 100 years ago, and it was the same game.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
My one final thought is
Give him a chance.
Yeah, we're boycotting Krispy Kreme donuts.
Oh boy, God. Yeah, you got Dakota did a lot of fat kid stuff. He really did.
I've been dieting for so long. And we ate dinner, and there's a Krispy Kreme across the street. And
we walked by it, and you said, if the light is on, we'll stop. And it wasn't on, so we walked past it. 2.5 hours later, we walked back by it again, and you're like, I'm stopping no matter what.
I was like, we're going because I've never gotten a Krispy Kreme.
Out of the store.
And I love Krispy Kremes. They're my favorite donuts of all time. And I used to go in. What I used to do is whenever I work construction, I would go in, I would get a bag of the mini guys, and I would get a big old thing of chocolate milk, and I would just eat on them all day. And I love those things. And I love all Krispy Kremes. And I was like, I want to get fresh ones really bad. So what do? We see cars in the drive-thru.
We saw cars in the drive-thru. We tried
walk
the door,
up there and
it
we're
was
like,
locked.
Yeah, we're like,
and we thought
they must be just drive-thru only.
Yeah.
And then there's a sign that says you can
use the
pick
app.
up from the app. So I downloaded the app, and it says, your location closes at 9 p.m. I said, great. We're 5 till 6. So then we're standing out there, and I'm putting my order in.
So the world has ended for them.
These putting my order in.
Pandemic and frozen. It's
and
34
the freaking
degrees.
lady behind the cash register comes up to the door, and she says, I'm close. She said, we're all done.
And we're done.
Yeah. Your
She was
sign
sad.
says 9.
She was sad.
I don't do if.
So I'm not eating Krispy Kremes for the rest of my life.
Well, you should just eat Jack's Donuts. They're open right now.
First of all, I went like 15 years of my life. I refused to eat any donuts at all. No donuts. Didn't eat any. Now, avid Jack supporter. Lee hustles. Lee does a great job. Lee represents Newcastle well. And I don't eat Krispy Kreme because if you want that kind of donut, you drive to Indianapolis, you can go to Long's, and that's legit donut.
I've never been to Long's.
Oh, those are good. And those are like a Krispy Kreme, like melt in your mouth, small, like glazed donut. They're not like Jack's. Like you eat Jack's donut, you're good till the next meal.
Jack's is a substantial meal.
Yeah, it's a meal replacement donut.
Yeah,
as long as you can knock a couple of those out. But yeah.
Listen, my wife wanted pizza for dinner tonight, so we were gonna get a thin crust pizza, and I was gonna get chicken wings. But because of that, it's like a 1,500 calorie meal. So I was like, I can have a salmon fillet, and that's it until dinner time. And I was like, okay. And I ate the salmon at like 10:30 because I was hungry.
and then you chew your arm off the rest of the day.
And then it was like 1:30, and I had to stop and get fuel. And I was at Speedway. And I was like, damn, some Krispy Kremes. That sounds so good. I was like, no.
Thank God you're
that woman. She told me no, and now I'm never going back.
Really quickly on my side, I will be dialing and doing a telethon on Sunday over at the Smith Building. The Henry County Expo Center is doing a telethon. I am on Aaron Dickens' team. I was recruited. I guess I'll also be representing Henry County 4-H junior leaders and Henry County 4-H. So if your phone rings and I call, if you don't want to give money, you probably shouldn't take my call. But if you want to chat me up and slide me a couple, we're doing this big competition. It's for an important project.
And people go out there, the walls are up.
Yeah.
The Expo Center, I mean, I'll be honest, I was one of those people too that was like, maybe they shouldn't have broke ground so early because it was just a mud hole for like a year. And now all of a sudden, Mike Morrell's mentioned, Landlord Mike, said, hey, the footers are going in. And he is, Landlord Mike. And next thing you know, I see a picture and like walls are up, roofs on it, not final roof, but
they are well underway in construction, and they've got a long way to go. There's an entire second building that's going to be built as well. So there's a lot of money to be raised, but there's massive progress being made. Yeah. And I know that's where my 4-H meeting is going to take place. I know that's where the 4-H fair is going to happen. It's going to be a great conference center. There's so many opportunities there for dinners, banquets. The big building is going to be any kind of trade show. It's going to serve the community very well. So I'm excited about it. We're right there.
I'm doing an interview tomorrow for the radio, pre-recorded, and they're going to play that interview during the telethon. And so there's a definite connection to tourism and Memorial Park, and so it's a nice project.
Yep, it's going to be big. A lot of opportunities, Corey.
Yes,
we're coming out of a painful year, but there's a lot heading to the good side. So I'm excited. With that, we'll thank you guys for hanging out with us tonight. We'll be back. We'll be back next week. At least some of us will be. Dakota's going to take a break, but we'll be back next week, and we'll talk to you then.
Thank you for listening to the Boss Hog of Liberty, which is part of the We Are Libertarians Network. I am Chris Spangle, and I am the founder of this network, and I invite you to listen to all of our shows, which you can find at wearelibertarians.com or by searching for these in your podcatcher. The flagship show is the We Are Libertarians podcast, where we apply libertarian principles to current events. The Brian Nichols Show is a conversation amongst Republicans, Democrats, Libertarians, Independents, as they talk about what is happening in the news. And we have many other podcasts like The Chris Spangle Show, Upward, The Cost, Raw Audio Politics, Miranda's World, and Tad Talk, which is quite a ride. So check all of these out. Go to wearelibertarians.com and you can check out all of our great podcasts. Thanks for listening. Thank you for listening to the We Are Libertarians Network. Get our other shows at wearelibertarians.com.